good.
Okay, we're on the podcast now with Emily Sisson joining us from Scottsdale, Arizona. Emily, welcome back to the MTA podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
And you said that you're in Scottsdale now, but you're
Yep.
heading up to Flagstaff. So what's the plan there?
Yeah, the plan is just to get some good altitude training in. And before I start my marathon build, I'll come down and do my marathon build at sea level. But I do benefit from altitude. I just don't love doing 115-mile weeks at altitude. So,
Yeah.
so this is what I did before Chicago in 2022. I came down from altitude before I started my build up, and I felt like I had the benefit of that the whole time. So, yeah, just going to try that again.
That's her secret sauce, people.
Yeah. We'll see.
Have you ever seen one of those altitude tents?
Yeah, people have talked to me about those. You can actually get altitude rooms in your house. I
Oh,
don't
wow.
know. Yeah, but then you have to spend like a certain number of hours a day in the tent, and I don't yeah, I just couldn't do it. I don't think I'd wanna do it.
Yeah.
Too restrictive.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I'd get cabin fever in my room or my tent. So
Exactly.
maybe I can see why you'd use it if you're coming down from altitude and you're trying to extend the benefit, but yeah, I don't train up at altitude enough, I think.
So I think we talked to you just over a year ago, and you certainly haven't let any grass grow under your feet. Huge congratulations on making the women's U.S. Olympic marathon team. That is so
Thank
Hmm.
exciting.
you.
Maybe we can start off by you talking about what your build up to the Olympic trials looked like. How did that go for you?
Yeah, well, thank you, first of all. And the buildup actually was pretty smooth. We didn't know because I was coming out of Chicago in the fall. We're like, well, we'll see how like my body comes out of that. It was kind of like we were trying to take like calculated risks because I felt like I needed more experience in the marathon, and I really wanted to do either a late summer or early fall marathon before the trials. But then at the same time, you're like, well, you also want to make sure you come out of that well so that you can attack like the next one. But luckily, I like came out of Chicago just as well as I did in 2022. Every time I've run that race, I've come out of it really good, really well. So yeah, so that went well, and then we decided to do I think 6 to 7 weeks of my buildup. The first 6 to 7 weeks were in Phoenix, Arizona, and I train here a lot, so I'm really familiar with it. I know where to go for my workouts. I know where to go if I need treatment or a massage. I just am so familiar with it here. And we debated doing the whole buildup in Orlando, but we just thought it was like that was too big of a risk before such an important race to go train somewhere I've never trained before, just in case there's any hiccups or anything we just didn't expect. So 3 weeks before the race, we decided to go to Orlando to adapt to the weather, and yeah, that seemed to like really work out well because there were a few things that popped up, but nothing that was that big of a hurdle. But I was glad I did big chunk of it somewhere I was familiar with. In the last 3 weeks, I had time to adjust to the weather. And I was talking to someone recently. I actually had struggled with allergies in Orlando, so I needed time to adjust to that.
Oh,
Um,
yikes.
yeah, so so yeah, I think we like really kind of nailed that, but at the same time, we didn't know. Like in hindsight, like you're able to kind of um, assess it better. But yeah, it worked out well.
And it all comes down to the one race, right?
Yeah, I know. The one day.
Oh, man. And man, it must feel awesome though, huh? To have the peace of mind knowing that you made the team. So at least that pressure's taken.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. It's really exciting to know I'll be competing in Paris representing the US. So yeah, it's a lot of pressure, but then I think that is the benefit to our system is that like if you can handle the pressure and you can show up and perform on the day, like that's what you need to do on the world stage. So it is a lot of
Mhm.
pressure, and it's tough. You have to figure out how to navigate it the best you can. It's not that you don't feel it, you just have to figure out how to work with it. And so, yeah, that's luckily I have a really good team surrounding me. So I had a lot of help, but yeah, I'm really,
Yeah.
really excited about it.
So on race day at the trials, did everything go according to plan, or was there anything unexpected that happened?
No, yeah, it didn't go according to plan. It rarely does.
Yeah.
I've had a few races, like a few that go like according to plan A, but usually I just have to pivot. And
Hmm.
I had to pivot earlier than I expected. I've talked about this a bunch already, but I got another side stitch, which is what I got in Chicago in 2023. And we have some more theories on what's causing them, but yeah, I was like really hoping not to get one. So I got it
Ah,
early on at mile 8, and then I was able to ease off, and it was able to the stitch was able to ease off and just got tight after a while and stopped cramping. So I was able to work with it this time. And that actually was the benefit of doing a fall marathon, as I had more experience and I knew what to do. But still, yeah, I kind of threw my plan A out the window earlier than I wanted to.
Oh, man.
So what define ease off?
Yeah.
Like
So
1 second?
I actually I didn't pay attention to our splits. I was leading the front of the pack with Kira D'Amato, and I just went straight to the back. And I
Hmm.
could tell we slowed down. I just didn't know how much. I wasn't really looking at splits. I wasn't really paying attention, but I could tell it did slow down, maybe a few seconds a mile. I'm not sure. I actually I don't know if I ever went back and looked exactly, but I could tell we did slow down a bit, and it was just enough to get like my like I think it's your diaphragm. So my
Mm.
diaphragm was like spasming and cramping, and it was enough to get it to calm down. And yeah, so it worked, but like I wouldn't have known to do that if I hadn't done Chicago.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just have to learn through experience, and yeah, so that's the
Huh.
marathon. There's definitely a big learning curve for a lot of reasons. So yeah,
So I wonder what Kira was thinking when you dropped to the back.
yeah, I know. I talked to her after the race and she yeah, like Kira, she's really nice about it.
Mhm.
But I've also been in the position before where you're leading with someone else, or you're supposed to lead with someone else and then they don't come up. And like you kind of just assume something went wrong. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
my senior year of college, someone came up to me before the NCAA final in the 5K and was like, "Hey, do you want to lead the race together?" Because I think both of us were like, we have a similar racing style, and we're like, let's just make it hard from the start. And it was actually her idea, and I was like, sure, I'll do it. And I started, and then she never came up, and and I ended up just leading the whole race. But I assumed in the moment, I was like, she's like probably just having a bad day, and
Mhm.
I mean, if she just sat on me and second the whole time, like that would have been one thing, and like outkick me at the end. But I like it just happens. Like I don't
Yeah.
know. That's just like racing, and like everyone knows your race plan can um like have to change, and other people's as well. Like things happen, you
Mhm.
have to adapt for. So but yeah, no, it's cool to see Kiera like bounce back so fast and enter the 15K and just crush
Yes.
it. So yeah.
That was great. I feel like women's marathoning is really deep right now, which is great. There's
Hmm.
just
Mm.
an awesome field. And, everyone maybe didn't have the greatest day that they wanted at the trials, but, they're coming back and doing some awesome things on their own. So that is
Yeah.
really exciting to see.
No, it is. Yeah, and that's I guess the nice thing of our sport. There's always something around the corner. The Olympics
Mhm.
do get built up so much, and I know that
Mhm.
feeling of not having it go your way, or how you like hoped it would on race day at the trials. But like, luckily, there's just so many big things in our sport, and you can just move on to plan your next race or your next summer or fall marathon. And yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, there's always something around the corner.
I don't so this will be your second Olympics, and I don't remember if I asked you this before, but are you gonna get one of those Olympic ring tattoos?
Everyone keeps I think you might have asked me that before. Everyone keeps asking me that. I thought no after Tokyo. I didn't think I was going to get one, but now I'm kind of like debating it. There's two women I've seen and I like where they have them.
Mhm.
Ellie St. Pierre has one on her, like, it's kind of like upper quad. So you only see it when she's racing, and I just think that
Mhm.
looks
Hmm.
cool. And Natasha Wodak is a Canadian marathoner, and I like hers. It's very like faint and kind of dainty, and but it's on
Mhm.
her forearm, and I just think that kind of looks cool. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe not. We'll see.
Okay.
I
Get a temporary
I
one first.
I
Play
know.
with the placement.
Yeah. That's not a bad idea. I ordered all this like jewelry after like Tokyo, and then I'd like wear the ring for a bit, and then I stopped and I wore the. I just like I don't know. I don't know what it is about the rings. I'm like sometimes I want to. Yeah, I don't
That
know.
would have that would have been a good April Fool's social media post. You could have got a
Oh,
temporary ring
oh
Maybe
tattoo
like
on
one or
yeah.
your
something.
put it on your neck
Yeah.
or your forehead.
Oh, this is like 2 days late.
Yeah. For next year, you can.
Okay, I'll think of it next time.
So speaking about the Paris Olympics, what are the next few months of training? I guess 4 months of training going to look
Yeah,
like for you? Are you going to go to France to run the course at all? What is the plan?
I did go to France for like 72 hours. We were in and out
Oh
so
wow.
fast. And we went and looked at the course. I don't think I'm going to go there to train on the course. And we actually realized when we were in Paris, I don't know if I'm even going to do the like 10 days or 2 weeks before the race in Paris or not, because the running there actually seemed a little difficult. So,
Hmm.
Yeah.
but yeah, we saw the course, I guess. And that was good to see. It's very unique. It's very different. It's going to be a very different buildup than the past ones I've done. But yeah, I think it'll be like an interesting race, and I think it'll lead to interesting results. So you just hope it shakes out in your favor. But yeah, I'm gonna do
Yeah.
like everything I can to prepare for the hills. They're pretty intense. They're long
Mm.
and they're steep. The one I think I'm like the most apprehensive about is like there's this really steep downhill at 30K, and you go up a
Mm.
steep uphill before it, but like when you get to it's around 30K, like you're like it's very very steep, and so just preparing, like getting used to running downhill, and getting used to that pounding, but without overdoing it. You don't want to injure yourself doing too much downhill running. But yeah, I think I'm going to try to get strong. Talk to my physical therapist, my chiropractor, and ask like what kind of strength work I can do in the gym to prepare my body for that kind of pounding. Um, but yeah, no, I'm excited about it. I got really excited seeing it. It felt real. But yeah, I forgot what you asked. I think you asked where I'm gonna do my training.
Yeah, what would your build-up's gonna
Oh,
look
Paris.
like?
Yeah, I'll do altitude for 6 weeks and do some hill training there, and just get like the benefit of altitude and come down and do my training in Providence, Rhode Island.
Mhm.
Is that where you're from?
Yeah, I guess I've lived there for like 8 to 10 years in total. I went to Providence College my
Yeah.
sophomore year of college, so since 2011. And then my husband and I left and moved to Arizona in 2018, and then we just kind of came back this past year or two. So yeah, we've been a bit all over, but it does feel like home. Yeah.
It should be a
Nice.
good place to prepare, somewhat for Paris because I'm thinking like the climates might be fairly similar as far, like the
Yeah.
humidity and having the marathon in August, like middle of August, you can it could be some really
Yeah.
hot temperatures.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've actually been told it could be pretty similar to training in Rhode Island in the summer.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'll get some good heat and humidity training there, and yeah, so I think that'll be helpful, that part of it.
Well, that's going to be here before we know it. And probably a lot of our listeners are going to be watching you on TV, myself included. Angie and I love to watch the Olympics. And when we watch you there at the race, maybe at the starting line or after the race has gone underway, what should we know? Like what's going on in your mind when you're at the starting line of the race? Like how are you dealing with the nerves? What's the internal chatter like
I
at a thing like that?
I feel like my nerves come like in the days leading up, but then when I'm on the start line, I don't actually feel as nervous. Like a little bit nervous. Like there's some butterflies, but I'm just
Mhm.
like I am just like, whoa, this is cool. Like it's like actually what I'm thinking.
Oh, that's
It's
great.
like not that many deep thoughts going on in my head on the start line of a marathon. And then like the
That's cool.
first half, I am just trying to like stay relaxed. And it's different than the track. And the track, I felt like I had to be so like on like
Mm.
very early on in a race and just aware of everything happening. But in a marathon you want to be like relaxed and kind of in control, especially like going through halfway. So yeah, just like trying to chill a bit. I do get nervous, but yeah, once I'm on the starting line, like the work's all done at that point. You can't really change anything, so you just have to like trust your race instincts and the work you've done like to the best of your abilities up until that point. And then yeah, it's just another marathon.
Is it safe to say that you try to have fun, or is there no fun involved?
No, I do try I like it is fun. I wouldn't keep doing it if it wasn't fun.
Okay.
I'm never like smiling in my race pictures, but but I do enjoy it. I do like racing. I like the challenge of it. I like to me that's like the fun part is like the challenge and trying to like
Hmm.
race other people and learn like how to race different distances and figuring out like what kind of works like in clicks for me in training, like that's like the really fun part. And then I get to
Yeah.
go race and just see what I can do. But yeah, I don't know, I feel like I'm never like smiling in my photos, but I don't know, I guess I'm just so focused. I like that's one thing I'm really good at is I'm just really good at focusing.
Hmm.
And so yeah, I feel like the emotion doesn't show until like after the race is finished and that part of my brain's turned off.
Now I got to go look up photos. I don't
Yeah.
remember.
Well, I've been in races before thinking that I was smiling, and then I look back at the photos, I'm like, "Oh my goodness, it looks like I'm grimacing." I'm like, "I look
Yeah.
terrible." Like, that
You
was not my internal thought structure at that point. I just,
you were
like
smiling on the inside.
I was trying
Right.
to smile, but it was not coming out. So
That would be me.
you're smiling on the inside. That's what counts,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Exactly.
Now I know there's a lot of pressure going into the Olympic Games, probably from others as well as self-induced pressure. what do you do to manage stress on a regular basis and combat that negative thinking that obviously, can pop into your head like, oh, how am I going to handle that big hill or, any aspect of it?
Yeah, during
Oh,
training.
there's so much. I get asked all the time about stress and pressure, and there's just like I feel like I have like a toolbox in my head of all these things I do, and so it's like I don't
Huh.
have one answer of like,
Hmm.
oh, this is what I do. Like it depends on the circumstances or what it is I'm dealing with at the time. But I guess when it comes to the hills specifically, I do put a lot of faith in like and trust in my like team of people I surround myself with, and so I know like I know they're like gonna help me to the best of their abilities, and I feel like I surround myself with just some of the best in the sport, that like people are the best at their jobs. And so if my coach is like, well, I think you should do this training for these hills, and my chiropractor is like, I think you should do this to strengthen yourself for these hills, like I'm just going to do that. And like I think on race day you can't be like, oh no, I hope I hope I don't blow up. You don't
Right.
you can't be like second guessing things at that point. Like you just have to like commit to your plan, and then in hindsight you can tweak things. You can be like, okay, well maybe like we should have done this differently, or I'll do this differently the next time. But like in the moment, you just have to like kind of trust in what you what you did, what you committed to. So for that, I guess that's what I do to handle that stress. I'm trying to think of other example or other things I do. Sometimes like before really big races like the trials, like if I'm getting a bit nervous, like in the week or two leading up, doing things like it just sounds simple, maybe a bit boring, but like going like for a walk with my husband and my dogs, or like
Mhm.
meeting up with a friend for like FaceTiming a friend. Like I remember when I was in Florida FaceTiming some friends, that just like it was just kind of a nice like grounding thing, and it
Yes.
reminds you
Mhm.
like, oh, it's just like another race. But yeah, that stuff can help me relax a lot. Yeah, I don't know. There's so many things. I feel like it helps. I've had a lot of help from like sports psych therapists in the past, like regular therapists. Like my husband's a therapist, so we talk a lot about ideas, and I
Mhm.
like try to read books on just other top like runners, what they've done to handle stress and pressure. And I have people's brains to pick too. I have Molly Huddle, Kim Smith. I've got yeah, I've just got people around me I can ask if I need help with something. So I guess that's a bit of all that too. That really helps.
I love that idea though of having a toolbox, like sort of like an
Yeah,
emotional, mental, and physical toolbox.
yeah, yeah,
And so you kind of like build this, build yourself up until race day. And then on race day, obviously, you're going to have to make maybe some fine tuning because
yeah.
things are not going to go exactly according to plan. But being able to pull out those tools as you need them,
Yeah.
that's an awesome concept. I like that.
Yeah, yeah, because it's not like I think sometimes people like I've been asked in the past, like, "Oh, do you not ever experience any nerves or any like anxiety or anything?" It's like, no, no, of course I do. I just like you just manage, like you have to find ways to manage it the best you can. It's not like the absence of that. You just yeah, find ways to work with it.
So you mentioned books. Um,
Oh yeah.
do you have any that you're reading now, like that you could recommend to
Um,
listeners?
my husband gave me a book. Actually, my husband and sister both read this book, and it's like not a genre I usually read. And so I'm being really slow at starting it. It's like a fantasy book, and that's like
Nice.
usually like I don't usually read that, but they're both like you should read this. It's good. And I don't know the name of it. It's like sitting right over there. But yeah, usually when I'm at like altitude camp or just training, like reading and yeah, like finding TV shows to watch or like things I do in my spare time.
Yes.
What genre of books do you gravitate toward?
I read I read quite a bit. I think probably well, I do like reading other runners' books. I enjoy that because I feel like it's kind of like almost like fun homework. Like you're learning from like the best. I like reading historical fiction. I'd say I like reading a
Mhm.
lot. And then yeah, I'm just trying to think. Yeah, book. I guess those are probably the two I read the most.
Mhm. Do you like to read, I mean, while you're traveling? Do you do audiobooks? Do you
I don't do audiobooks. I like those make me really sleepy. Everyone says I should because I have to like carry books with me when I travel,
Right.
and they're like, "You should just get an audiobook." And I'm like, "I'll fall asleep." So yeah, that doesn't work for me.
Unless you need to fall asleep, then you know what to do.
Yeah, true. Actually, that is what I do sometimes when I'm having trouble sleeping. Is I put on an audiobook or
Just find a narrator with a droning voice and
yeah,
just
or like a podcast that like makes me sleepy. I'll put that on, and that actually really helps.
You gotta do what you
uh,
gotta do.
yeah.
So that's interesting that you read books about running,
Mhm.
even though, every day you're living and breathing running, right? It's your
Yeah, yeah.
career, it's your daily bread, but then you also read books about running. So you're not sick of running yet enough to say, yeah,
No.
I want to take a break from running. Give me something else.
Well, there definitely are times I like do want to turn my brain off from thinking and talking about running for sure. But then I also like learning about it because it's like, yeah, I guess I am like a student of the sport still. So, yeah, I love reading. Like I love reading. Like I recommended Dina's book after the marathon, and
Oh
so
yeah.
many people messaged me being like, "Oh, I started Dina's book,"
That is an
or
amazing book.
Mebs, or like there's just little like bits of like wisdom they just drop in there, and you're like, "Oh, it's an interesting way of like thinking about something or
Mhm.
Yeah.
framing something," and yeah, or maybe you can like relate it to your own experience. And I don't know. I just so I like picking up things. It's like a fine line because I don't like comparing myself too much to other people and what they do and what works for them. But I also like having an open mind at the same time. Like, oh, like there's not just one way of doing things, and
Right.
Hmm.
yeah, there's more perspectives out there, and maybe someone has a better perspective than me on something. So yeah, it's like a fine line. Yeah.
Have you ever had a publisher approach you about writing a book?
No, no, I have like talked to my husband about that. I'm like, oh, I wonder if I'd ever write one someday. I don't know what I'd write about, but then I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
We
You guys could co-write one. He could give like the therapist
So,
part.
yeah,
Like.
we have
yeah.
joked about it, or just writing a book from like my perspective and his perspective, and me being like, "Oh, I was like so calm that day," and him being like, "She was not calm that
Yeah.
day."
Actually, this is what went down.
I think that'd be kind of entertaining.
Yeah.
That's for
My mom
sure.
said she loved to read Shane's perspective on things.
So what do you think about ultra marathoners? Do you ever read books by ultra runners?
I haven't yet, but I follow some on Instagram. But no, I haven't. I don't know. The marathon's the furthest I go. I
Yeah.
don't think I'll go any further for me. But I do like reading and hearing about other people's experiences. So maybe, yeah, maybe I should pick up some more books on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think 26.2 is my max.
I think with ultra runners, the mindset stuff, they really dial into that a lot
Hmm.
because,
Yeah.
to go beyond the marathon. I mean, marathons are difficult as it is, but to go beyond
Yeah.
the marathon, you really have to like excise some of those mental demons.
Oh,
You
definitely.
really have to
Yeah.
have a strong toolbox to be able to draw from because otherwise you could easily talk yourself out of
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
going
Yeah.
further.
That's a whole nother beast. Yeah.
But I think it's
It's
so applicable, like I have no desire ever to run a 100-miler, but I can apply principles that I've read from ultra marathoners down to the marathon or like whatever
yeah.
is happening in my
Yeah.
life. So,
Yep.
yeah.
No, there's definitely, I'm sure there's some overlap there with all the mental tools we all use.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's inspiring what they do because yeah, like I said, I think 26.2 is as far as I can go.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm amazed.
Well, we talked to this dude named Dave Proctor who ran across Canada. He set the trans Canadian record,
Wow.
and he was doing like 100K a day on a fractured foot, and
Wow.
did it in how many days? Like 60 something days. But anyway, he told us that he thinks racing a marathon is harder than running across Canada.
Really
So there you
Yes.
go.
interesting.
You just have to slow your pace down.
Yeah,
So wait,
that's interesting.
so
Huh.
mad respect.
Well, I think what he did sounds sounds a bit harder, but
Uh, so you mentioned earlier, preparing for the hills in Paris and things like that. Do you have a regular strength training routine? What does that look like?
Mhm.
How do you plan to change it up, if any, for the games?
Yeah, I'll probably change it up a little bit some, but I do kind of keep the same. Like I switch up maybe the exercises I do, but I try to make sure I'm working the same muscle groups. And yeah, I've kind of like really worked on that ever since Tokyo. I had a pretty bad injury coming out of Tokyo, and it was actually an injury I had dealt with a lot earlier in my career. And we really focused on gym work after that. And yeah, so like luckily, like I have had things pop up here and there, but knock on wood, nothing as long or as bad as that injury was. So I do a lot like for me, hamstrings are really important, working the whole like posterior chain.
Hmm.
Quads will be important, core. As I've gotten older, lower leg strength work, which I never did before, but that's become yeah, that's become something I have to do regularly as well. And actually posture stuff as well. So yeah, just trying to
Hmm.
hit everything. But I might switch up the exercises, but I really try to make sure I'm not neglecting anything. Um, and yeah, look, like I do take my husband takes regular videos of just my form when I'm running, so that we can see if anything's breaking down or looks a little off. And yeah, so that's kind of a good way to like look and see how things are moving.
Does he do that from a bicycle, like while you're running?
Yeah. Yeah, he stopped
Nice.
working out, when was it? He used to run my workouts with me, and then we realized that biking was just as effective, and he immediately stopped. He was like, "I'm not running anymore." So so now he
Wow.
bikes and yeah, and the videos have been helpful. I use them, like, in my Instagram posts a lot, but they're actually, for the most part, just looking at form.
Oh, cool.
I'm
Yeah.
sure prevention is so important because if you let something go too long, it's really hard to correct. So, things like form
Yeah.
issues, it would
Yeah,
be
no, definitely. Or if like I have an injury and then I just take time off and it heals, but I'm still moving in the same pattern, then like it can just come back. So yeah,
Yeah.
just making sure to correct any imbalances and things like that's pretty important.
So you said he used to run with you? He must be
Yeah, he used
one hell of a runner.
Yeah, yeah, we met in college. We were both runners at Providence
Okay.
College, and yeah, he I think he thought my workouts were gonna be a lot easier than they were when he first started doing them. And then he's like, "Actually, no, like, like, at the time when he started doing my workouts, I was on the track more, and so he'd do workouts with me and Molly Huddle, and he's like, "I feel like I always have to be in, like, 15-minute 5K shape," and that's, like for him, like, it sounded really slow when he first started my workouts, but he's like, no, it's actually not as easy as I thought. And
Hmm.
gradually he started doing less, like fewer and fewer workouts. He like cut out, I think, tempos first. And then he cut out, what was it, like the speed? I don't even remember. Just he stopped doing workout by workout. Now he bikes all of them, which is nice. And we run together on easy days sometimes. But yeah, no more workouts.
It's probably still hard to keep up even on a bike.
Yeah, it looks hard to pace it on a bike, but he does a pretty good job with it. So, but yeah, getting the pace down. Sometimes I'm watching people who, like, I think Emma Coburn, I see her videos on a track and she's running right behind Joe on a bike, and they are so close, and he must be like nailing the pace, but I'm
Hmm.
also like, I'm just kind of amazed because there's like a gap between me and Shane so that I don't hit him.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, maybe it's Sarah Hall does that
Yeah,
too. Yeah,
Ryan
I
and Sarah
see.
Hall. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'm thinking of them actually. Yeah, they're like he definitely has the pace nailed down and she's just right on him and I'm just like so impressed.
You're like, "Give me a little bit of room here."
Yeah. Yeah.
So, we are big fans of UCAN and they are a
Mhm.
sponsor of yours. So I'm just
Yeah.
curious, how are you using UCAN these days for your training and races?
Yeah, it's quite a few different ways. I started using UCAN, I think it was end of 2021, which would have been coming out of Tokyo when I was injured. So I wasn't actually marathon training at that point, but I started just kind of sprinkling their products in with other and like in place of other products I had been using. And the first one I started using was their protein drink, the Energy Plus Protein. And because I wasn't doing marathon training at the time, I was like, well, I am starting to do some workouts and I like having a protein drink right after. And immediately I'm like, oh, so your stomach doesn't have to hurt like after you down a protein drink. And I think it's because they have like the protein to carb ratio down right, and that's why
Hmm.
like I felt so much better. But yeah, so I started with that, and then I slowly just started like trading some things out. Like before my long runs, I started using the energy powder in place of a sugary drink. And I've actually met other runners who that's like what they started doing too, because it just sits better. I feel less like bloated. And I was like, oh, this is actually like, this is helping me, like giving me energy throughout the long run. And I'm feeling better starting off. And then I started like throwing in the energy during my long runs. And uh, the edge gels I use on like workout days when I'm like pre-workout or pre-race, like as something like last minute just to like have that extra energy there. But yeah, I find really just like playing around with it really benefited me. And like even like now on race day, like I still take like sugary gels every now and then during the race, but having the UCAN there like really complements that. And I have no stomach issues now. I know I talk about like the side stitches, but that's not like I'm not just saying that. We know it's not a fueling thing, it's a
Mm,
diaphragm like tension or breathing thing.
mhm.
Like it just like I feel like I've kind of nailed my my feeling at this point. So,
That's good.
so yeah, I think like testing things out in workouts and long runs is the advice I give people who like are trying to figure out what fueling works for them, and like playing around with like substituting things here and there, and just one at a time, so you can be like, oh, like this is how I felt different after this long run versus the last time. But yeah, like UCAN's been just such a big support the last few years, and yeah, I feel lucky to have been working with them.
Yeah, they're awesome. I remember when we first heard of them, it was because we had a bad experience at a marathon with sugary gels and stuff, and then stomach sickness, nausea. And back then, all they had was the drink mix that you had to mix with water.
The energy powder, yeah.
But now those gels,
Oh
man, they're
yeah.
so handy.
Yeah,
We
I like using the gels when I'm like get a late start to the day too. Like when I wake up and I get distracted, like emailing people or doing some stuff, or like I'm making it sound productive. Sometimes I get behind not doing productive things, and
We
I
all
just
do.
take too long. I take too long to get out the door. But like I sometimes will just have one then, or like I'll carry it with me, like in my pocket, and like halfway through my like 13 or 14-mile run, I'll just take it, and it's just so easy. You don't need water with it, so like with other gels, like I think you're supposed to take water because I think that can cause cramping,
hmm.
but like muscle cramping. But yeah, I don't. Yeah, so I think I like that about the gels. You can just just have it there.
You think you're going to take some with you to Paris?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's nice. They just shipped some to me last week, so I have some with me at altitude camp too. So
Nice.
Oh, cool.
What are your
yeah.
favorite flavors of the different products?
I think for the gel, I'd have to go with the strawberry banana, but I do
Mhm.
like orange mango a lot.
Mhm.
Um, actually, no. Pineapple's also good.
They're all
They're good. But for the energy drink mix, I just do tropical orange,
Mhm.
and for the protein powder, it's just the cocoa one. Although
Mhm.
I don't know if they still have it. The cookies and cream was a good one too. I don't know if they still make that one or not. But
Yeah.
usually with the protein mix, I mix the cocoa with either almond milk or oat milk, and and it tastes like chocolate milk.
Mhm.
So right now it's April 3rd. Did you see what they did for April Fools on their Instagram? They
No, I missed all these April Fool's jokes.
We didn't do one this year. Sometimes I do one, but UCAN had a great one. It was they said we're launching a new product. It's called U Milk. It was like UCAN flavored milk.
Oh, no, I didn't see that.
It
Well,
was like milk with like their super starch in it.
Yeah.
So, you're like combining your regular milk or whatever.
I'm
And
gonna
I'm
have to
like,
go look for that
this is
now.
like seems very niche, like who's going to buy it? And then I'm like, oh, April Fools. I was
You
taken
milk.
in.
Ellie St. Pierre is the next sponsor, sponsored athlete. It's funny. I didn't see that. I'll have to go look.
So this question just for fun. So where's somewhere that you would like to travel that you haven't traveled to yet?
Oh, I think I saw this question. Well, I know I've been there already, but I feel like it doesn't count. I'd like to go back to Japan because I feel like that didn't count. That was
Well,
Oh,
you were under
like
COVID restrictions pretty
I like
much.
I could
yeah.
have been anywhere.
We
I
just
saw the village and the practice track and the stadium,
mm,
and so I'm like I in the bus like to and from. I'm like this actually looks like such a cool city, and I'd love to go back to Japan. So, but I have
Yes.
been there technically.
we
So,
just got back from Japan. It is
did you?
awesome.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
how
need
was
to
it?
you need to run the Tokyo Marathon next year. That would be an
Oh, that would be
amazing
a good time
It was great.
follow-up.
actually.
Yes.
You
You would
pro-
love
Yeah.
that.
you probably don't want to work when you go to Japan though. You want to have a vacation.
Well,
Yeah, but
she could run
you
the
can take it
marathon and then
after.
take a vacation afterwards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
That's
true.
like kinda like a paid work trip.
Yeah, exactly. I plan my marathons around where I want a vacation.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think Tokyo would be really cool to go back to. My sister's been to Sri Lanka actually twice in the past year,
Oh.
and that looks really cool. So I kind of want to go with her and her boyfriend the next time they go.
Mhm.
I'll just third wheel them.
That's
We were
right.
actually, she was in Sri Lanka when I was in Orlando getting ready for the trials. And in our family group text, we were just sharing, like, I was like, oh, I saw like a peacock or something today or an alligator, but the alligator is actually interesting, but she'd like send messages to our group chat of like a jaguar, or like she was at an elephant orphanage, or she was like having the way cooler trip, and I was just trying to
She's like, "Here's a
be
flock of
competitive.
peacocks."
Yeah, and she's like, you think it's hot and humid near you, it's way worse near us. And our air conditioning's not working. But yeah, so anyway, that always looks cool when they go there. But yeah, I don't know, there's a lot of places still, so yeah, we'll have to
Lots of
see.
options.
Yeah.
Ah. So you got an MBA from Providence College, which was in Rhode Island, like we talked about earlier. Do you envision yourself using that after you retire from professional running? Not that we're in any
I
hurry for you to retire, but like, what do you envision yourself doing if you allow yourself to daydream about your life
I
after
so
running?
I actually didn't technically finish it. I got like 3/4 of the way through, and then we moved to
Okay.
Arizona, and they didn't have online classes at the time
Oh,
because that
interesting.
was pre-COVID. So I don't know. They said I could always come back and finish it, but I think there is like a timeline on it. I think I might have
Hmm.
passed that. So,
Hmm.
but I do think I'd want to stay in the sport. As like I don't know exactly in what way, but I don't know. Sometimes it's cool seeing what like goes on behind the scenes at like New York City Marathon or something like that. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, it's kind of chaos, but it's amazing. And
Organized chaos.
I know I must just be addicted to that because I think it looks so fun. Yeah, I don't know if I'd want to do something like that, or yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe working with athletes in some capacity. I'm not sure exactly how, but I think I'd like to stay in this sport because I do love it. Um,
Hmm.
and then someday when I'm like retired from working in general, I want to work at like or volunteer like an animal shelter and
Yes.
work
Yeah.
and like find all the dogs homes and I'll probably bring like 10 of them home with me to foster and my husband will be like, "What are you doing?" But
Living
that's
the
my plan.
dream.
Yeah.
You're a dog mom now, right?
Yeah, we have 2 dogs. We had a golden retriever that passed away a couple years ago, and
Mm.
now we have a beagle we rescued and a husky Australian cattle dog mix. So that we also rescued.
High energy breed there.
Yeah, she's actually pretty mellow for a husky. Like, I mean, she's
Yeah.
very sassy and very stubborn, so she definitely has that. But I kind of love it. Like, I love her attitude. She's got like she's the perfect combination of like sassy and sweet, is what I say, because she's has such an attitude and she'll let you know if she's annoyed at you. But then she's so sweet. She'll just like cuddle on up to you and she's so great with like kids or elderly people. I combine that
Mhm.
there. Like she's great with Molly Huddle's daughter. And then there's like this old man that lives across the street from us that she like just adores her and she's like so sweet around him. And like
Oh,
she has like this emotional intelligence, I can tell.
yes.
But yeah, so anyway, we like our dogs. Yeah, we like cats too, but I'm unfortunately allergic. So my husband thinks I'm
Oh.
making it up. He grew up with 4 cats, and he's like, "You're making up that allergy," and because it's one I developed later in life, and I'm
Ah.
like actually pretty allergic to them. So
Oh,
Huh.
no.
I'm like, "No, I swear I'm not."
Wow.
Oh, that would be challenging. We have a couple of cats, and I think at least a couple people in our family are allergic to cats, but we don't have to run professionally. You can't exactly have
Yeah.
a lot of breathing problems
Yeah.
when you're trying to combine that.
Hmm.
Yeah, he's
Oh.
like, "Maybe when you retire," and I'm like, "Maybe." So we'll yeah, we'll see.
Be like, "You can medicate yourself now, overly medicate so we can have
Yeah.
cats."
I'm so used to feeling comfortable. I just don't know.
Yeah, it would be a big
Maybe.
sacrifice.
Yeah, but yeah, he grew up with 4 cats, and I remember I worked so hard to get, like, one of his cats to, like me because it used to just avoid me whenever I'd show up at his house in college, and then eventually it started liking me, and that was, like, around the time I started struggling, and I was like, "Oh, no." After all this work.
Well, cats like people who are allergic to them better. We have a
Oh,
very
really?
standoffish cat that will not give anyone the time of day unless someone is allergic to them, comes into our
Really?
house, like
Yeah.
he's out there like rubbing against their leg, like, "Hello, person, I like you." And they're like,
Oh.
"I'm allergic." We're like, "Oh no."
Yeah.
I remember
Somehow
his
they
cat
know.
his cat was on my lap after, like, 8 years of trying to get it to, like me, and I was, like, tearing up because my eyes were all red and itchy, and my throat was so sore, and I was like, I'm like, "I wanted this for years."
Now I have it. It's terrible.
See, the cat just
Uh,
waited till you got allergic,
yeah, I don't know,
and then
it's
it
weird, I
knew.
swear, maybe we just didn't notice, I don't know, I think you can develop them later.
You
I had a
can.
roommate in college that had a cat. We lived on different floors of the same house, but, like, I had no issues, and yeah, just one day, like, I woke up at my husband's house, it was, like, around our wedding, and I'm like, "I think I'm allergic to cats," and I'm definitely allergic to cats, it was weird.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Life is strange.
It is, yeah, but love our
Mm.
little furry friends.
That's right. Uh,
Well, it's been an honor to talk to you again, Emily. Thanks for taking time to join us here on the podcast. Congrats on
Oh,
making the
thank
Olympic
you.
team, and
mhm.
we're definitely looking forward to watching you and the whole team this summer
Thank
from
you, I
afar.
appreciate it. Oh, thanks so much, and
And if
thanks
people
for
want
the
to,
good questions.
You bet. It's been fun. If people want to follow you on Instagram and see some of those great photos that your husband takes from the bike or videos,
Yeah.
what's your Instagram handle we can send people to?
It's M_Sisson_.
All right, perfect.